All right, today we're going to break down a really powerful but simple idea. Your family is so much more than just a group of people. It's a system, and it's a system designed to build a lasting legacy.
Okay, so let's just start with this one fundamental thought. If legacy, at its core, is all about the impact we have on other people, well, it's probably not where you think. It doesn't start with big institutions or powerful companies or even governments.
Nope, the real starting point, the ground zero for all of it, is so much closer. It all begins right at home.
Okay, so let's really dig into this core concept. Because your family, it isn't just a bunch of people you're related to, it's a system. And the thing about systems is they're either getting stronger over time or they're quietly falling apart. So to really get our heads around how this system works, we're going to look at 6 key components. Everything from how it treats money and conflict to the way it passes down responsibility. All right, let's jump right into our first section. You know, long before any other institution gets its hands on us, our family is basically our first operating system. It shapes our most fundamental views of the world. I mean, think about it for a second. Before we learn anything from the outside world, our family is installing our default settings on all the big stuff in life. You know, our financial habits, our emotional responses, how much risk we're willing to take. We just soak all these patterns up long before we're even aware of them. So what is it that takes a family from just being, a group of relatives and turns it into an intentional legacy system that's actually built to last? This definition here is actually really important. Because legacy isn't about the stuff you leave behind, like money or property. It's about creating an enduring meaning, an impact that actually lives on through the values you pass down to others. And this is what a legacy system really looks like in practice. It's not some kind of top-down command. It's more like a bridge, right? A bridge of shared values that connects one generation to the next, making sure the family's identity doesn't just fade away. And these 4 pillars, they're the blueprint. They provide the structure. See, without this kind of framework, families just drift. But with it, a family's values can actually compound. They get stronger with each generation. And let's be clear, the goal here isn't control. It's all about continuity. So let's talk about something that really puts these systems to the test. Money. How a family handles money says a lot about whether it's built for the long haul or just for the here and now. You see this a lot, right? In weaker systems, money is basically a weapon. It's used for control, for compensation, to show off status. But in really strong legacy systems, they totally flip the script. Money becomes a tool to teach responsibility. It's a lesson in good judgment, and it's a resource that you're stewarding for the future. This quote from Hobby Lobby founder David Green, it just nails this mindset shift. When you see yourself as a steward instead of an owner, everything changes. The wealth isn't really yours to possess, it's yours to manage for a much bigger purpose. Okay, next up, let's get into the engine of a family's culture, and that is its rituals. These are the things you do over and over that make your values real. Man, this is such a great question to ask yourself, because storytelling, that's one of the most powerful rituals there is for passing on values. Right? Stories connect with us emotionally. They embed lessons in a way that just listing facts never ever could. They're how you answer the question, so who are we? What do we actually stand for? And these examples here, they show you how doing things on purpose over and over again builds that shared identity. It could be an annual family meeting to talk about values, or even a virtual armchair site visit with a charity you support. The point is, these rituals are constantly sending the message, this is how we do things here. Repetition is what builds culture. All right, now for a topic that makes a lot of families nervous. But legacy systems actually use it to get stronger. Let's talk about conflict. It's a huge misconception that fighting is what breaks families apart. Nope, the real killer is avoidance. It's the conversations you don't have that silently eat away at the system from the inside out. And think about this, how a family navigates disagreement or stress or even failure. That becomes a master class in resilience. When kids see conflict handled with respect, it teaches them more about the family's real values than any lecture ever will. That's what builds real long-term strength. And finally, for a legacy to actually work, responsibility can't just stay in one place with one generation. It has to be passed on effectively. The smartest families do this gradually. It's a process. It starts with the younger generation just watching and learning. Then they're invited to participate. And finally, they're trusted to lead. And this is a real balancing act. If that responsibility never gets transferred, the system breaks. But if you hand it over too soon, before the values are really locked in, the standards can just fall apart. Timing is everything.
So at the end of the day, a powerful family legacy has nothing to do with being wealthy. It's about being intentional. It really boils down to three things: having clarity on what you value, having a structure to reinforce those values, and then the consistency, day in and day out, to make it all real.
And this really brings us full circle. If the family is the smallest unit of society, then it follows that strong families create stable communities, and stable communities lead to a resilient society. The biggest changes, the most lasting impacts, they don't start with some grand gesture. They start small. They start with the conversations you have around the dinner table.
But if money is supposed to be this tool for teaching responsibility, that brings up a really tough question, right? How do you actually do that without creating a sense of entitlement? Well, that is the exact challenge we're going to tackle in our next explainer.